Hello and welcome to Mordheim, City of the Damned. I am Kitten Paw, and this is my Witch Hunters warband, the Army of Kittens. They are a warband taking part in the Buddyhood Brawl League Season 2, hosted by Game Night Plays, a Twitch player and YouTube streamer who organized this through his community and through Steam, which is where I joined. They needed to fill some slots. I joined along with some others. I'm an experienced Mordheim player. I have about 1,000 hours in game, and I've done some high-level PvP. So anytime I can do some PvP in this game that I enjoy, I took the opportunity. And I was given the Witch Hunters in a random draw, which I knew would be. It was started as a rank 0 warband, a progressive league where you played different opponents in a PvP and did some PvEs in between to recover. And I knew the Witch Hunters would be pretty powerful early on, given that they get the captains and the Templars. The Templars are very powerful starting heroes. And as you can see here, that's exactly what I did. I got my warband created, rank 0, hired up my captain, Witch Hunter Captain, Captain Calico, and my Templar Knight, Sir Snugglebunny. And these are cat names, in case anyone's wondering. I tried to name my characters after cats. So Calico is a type of cat. It's like a pattern color. Snugglebunny is just, a snuggle bunny. Pumpkin, who is now the Mad. He's my flagellant. He is a muck now, so he's mad. I think flagellants are kind of crazy to begin with, but what do I know? Uh, we have Buttercup, and we have Fluffykins, and Mittens. So what I did is I hired 3 flagellants. It looks like I hired a reserve zealot, had my captain, and my Templar. I decided to go with flagellants because they get a lot of physical skills. What do I even mean by that? I believe here in the physical trait, I think they get like 21 points to spend in here. Average is 15. If you just took an average, everyone gets 15, and all 3 of these for 45 total. They get 21, which give them a lot of agility and a lot of toughness, which makes them really wonderful dodge tanks once they're built up with a lot of hit points. So I decided to use them as my frontline melee henchmen. Templars, I knew these guys would be really strong early on because of their passive, Stoic. When 2 enemies engage you, you get melee resistance increased by 10%. And the early match, rank 0 warbands, everyone has terrible, terrible weapon skill. Your chance to hit is maybe below 90%. And then you take away the melee resistance that a unit has, 10% can make a big difference early on. This guy was maybe looking at 50% or so chances to hit early in the tournament, which makes them really strong, as well as their heavy armor. So once he got some blue and purple heavy armor, the melee resist stopped playing a role later in the league, but early on it just really made them very difficult to kill, especially since I gave them hardy. Everybody in my warband got hardy early on. It's just such a good, powerful tool, since it increases as a percentage with toughness. Since wounds increase by 2% as you increase toughness, that also includes this, as well as a nice rune I got, Helmet of Constitution. So that's 35 extra wounds, which becomes about 40 plus extra hit points, which is a shot or 2. That means they live another attack or 2, which is pretty valuable. My captain, Captain Calico, Witch Hunter Captain, he has a melee passive that he starts with. Increases dodge. So he can make an amazing dodge tank. He really can. He can make a really good, actually, melee resistance tank, since he gets high agility and weapon skill. You give him a shield, defensive stance, and whatnot, he can be really hard to hit. or you can make him a dodge tank. But I knew I would have Templars and Flagellants. This is all melee, so I decided to make him a ranged character, which he can do. He can do decently, but I just needed something ranged to put in there. I can't have everyone being melee. And as you can see, he gets all kinds of nice ranged weapons, including these juicy crossbow pistols, which are so nice. They take 1 strategy point. They act like bows, only 1 point to reload, and only 2 red pills to shoot. It's a very nice weapon. I was lucky to find these. And as you saw here, another cool thing about him is he gets this Aegis, which I don't think a lot of people realize he has. It's not really listed as a skill or anything, but he has a natural 20% magic resistance, along with 10 intelligence. That's 30% right off the bat. And I know I'm facing Aenir in the finals of the Spuddy Hood Brawl League. That's why I'm introducing this warband, to kind of show them off and how I got here. So I gave him an amulet of Constitution for more hit points and then even more magic resistance. He's going to have a tough time with his comets. Yeah, so these guys got me going early. These guys engaged. They were tough to kill. He followed up with some range damage. These guys would flank in and kill my enemy, and I did pretty well with that. As my warband leveled up, I introduced some ranged zealots, one of which is all grown up into a hero. I guess I'll explain that in a little bit, why I had to do that. And I got a buffing warrior priest, a very, very strong unit that the witch hunters get. It's made available to them at rank 4 or 5, I think rank 5. So I could have been rank 4, I can't remember now. I think rank 5 gives you the executioner, so I brought him along once the slot opened. But yeah, so here's my captain, here's his skills. He gets quick reload. It's a no-brainer, given he's a ranged unit. Mastery. Hardy, that was the first skill he got, about rank 2 or so. Knowledge of Mordheim. I find that mobility is king in Mordheim. So he has 7 mobility now, and he also has exhaustion mastered for 3 more blue pills. So 11 blue pills times 7 movement is 77 movement if need be. You can skitter all the way across the map. So the idea with ranged units and exhaustion is it allows for reloads, since those cost blue pills, and it allows you to go into positions, say climbing or just moving around obstacles, to put you in a good position to get off shots, or to hit and run. So fire some shots and then retreat. So I find that it's pretty much a mandatory skill on ranged units, is mastery exhaustion. As for an active skill, trial by pain. I wanted to show off some witch hunter skills. I am playing the witch hunters. And this is a nice skill to put onto someone you expect to be doing a lot of attacks upon you. So my opponent will have a sister superior who can do 4, maybe even 5 attacks in melee. So that would be a lot of, say it's 20 every time. That's 80 to 100 self-damage just for attacking me. It's a pretty neat skill. It kind of neutralizes the target. You know, do they want to attack knowing that's on them? So it can almost make them skip their entire turn. Pretty neat. And I have Mastery Nerve Shot. I took Mastery because I thought I would be facing an opponent with a lot of dodge and sidestep, which is what Mastery allows you to break. But it turns out I'm not. I'm facing the Sisters. So Basic would have been just fine to break Parry and Web of Steel, which it tends to break for 2 turns. So you see a target, they've entered Web of Steel. If you shoot them with a nerve shot, it instantly breaks them of that stance, so they no longer have it active. Then you can engage them and attack them without fear of a parry. And then when it's their turn, they cannot enter the stance. So then they don't have it for the next round of combat. So it's kind of a way of preventing a stance for 2 turns, which is pretty nice. Pretty nice. And then I have Basic Adrenaline Rush for 30 wounds, which is also why I have Hardy. give you a pool to draw from with exhaustion and adrenaline rush. Which allows me to have 10 red pills if I want to fire my gun or pistols 5 times if I just want to pump out damage. Or I could do, say, 2 skill shots and then 2 regular shots. So it's pretty neat to have just a little adrenaline rush skill. And I have some Crimson Shades, which will allow me to increase my initiative if I see a target that I want to jump in the turn order for the next round. I will drink a Crimson Shade. I can go up by 35 initiative, which gets me pretty high. What is that? 89? That's going to be faster than anybody on the field. So then I can shoot a target, and then know I'm going first the next round, and I could shoot that target again and then retreat. So it's a pretty powerful ability. And I found this Archer rune. Just helps a little bit. A little more toughness. So that's the captain. Here's Sir Snugglebunny, the famous Sir Snugglebunny. He is yet to die or be put out of action. He's been reduced to less than 50 hit points numerous times, even less than 30 once or twice, I believe. He just takes all of the damage. He just is a brute force, leading the charge into combat. But he has 55% armor, and with my Warrior Priest, Armor of Righteousness, that goes up to 75%. And now when you've got Trial by Pain on you, do you want to attack my Templar to do probably less damage than you'll be taking yourself just by attacking? So it's kind of a nasty combination. It really is. Again, Hardy, first skill everybody got. At rank 0 warbands, just surviving 1 extra attack is pretty important. The 20 hit points can do that early on, since everyone has white weapons. Armor proficient, no brainer, so I get that movement and the 5 extra armor. Resilient, being crit. If you crit, armor does nothing, goes right through the armor. If you're crit, you get open wounds, 10% less chance to hit your target, and an increased chance for injury after combat, which is pretty important in a progressive league. You do not want to get injured or killed, obviously. So resilient is huge. And yeah, he doesn't have it. I probably can afford it, but I did get this luck rune, which is pretty nice as well for increasing that critical hit resistance. I felt like 24 is probably enough against Ainir. And then again, exhaustion. So we have 10 blue pills possible, 7 movement. That's 70 movement. I think I had a lot of luck in this league with people not expecting my Templars to be able to reach certain units, like their archers and leaders they thought were safe on the back line. And suddenly I just sprint up and engage them, and it would surprise a lot of people. Movement is really important. And you also want to get these guys on the correct targets, since they cannot disengage. You don't want your opponent determining who attacks him. You want to be determining who he attacks. So exhaustion allows me to get to the units I want to engage and lock them down. So against Ainir, that might be his maiden, his sister superior, his matriarch, his purifiers. I'm going to want this guy to be able to get onto them and lock them down and start doing a lot of damage to them. So that's why exhaustion. You'll see I have no stance. I put very little value in stances. I find they're very expensive, especially with Templars. You're talking 4 blue pills. Just to get to where I want to be, you know, that's going to take a lot of blue pills just to get to the correct targets. I find I just won't have any blue pills left to enter a stance. Plus, I have 75% armor. I really don't care if you hit me. I mean, hit me. It's going to do like 10 damage. So I just found it just wasn't worth it for me, especially given the limited gold and skill points. I'd much rather be able to get to targets that I want to get to than worry about stances. And then we have another cool Witch Hunter skill, Burn the Witch. This and Trial by Pain are probably their 2 most useful skills. But for just one extra blue pill, again, exhaustion gives me 3 more. So I can do 4 attacks to increase casting by 1 each attack. It's stackable. So a comment would cost 6 red pills for him to cast if I land them all. That's pretty powerful. So cool little skill there. We'll see if we get to use it in the final. I believe he's exactly the same. They're just carbon copies. Just never got to final level 10. Warrior Priest. Thank you, True Scene, my opponent in the semifinal. He told me about Divine Study on his Warlock. That gives him 6 extra magic points. Spell points? Whatever they're called. So I could take a second mastery spell, which, since I'm facing the sisters, I took magic resistance. Healing Hand would have been nice, but look at this thing. It costs 270 just for basic. So the mastery would have been maybe about 500. We're talking about like 800 gold. Plus you have to be literally like right next to the target, 3-meter range. So it kind of exposes him to some risks that I didn't want to take because I don't have exhaustion with him. He only moves 49, so you'd have to move up, do that, and try to retreat. You know, it might leave him out and exposed. So this was cheaper, and it's going to be useful. It's a group effect as well, so I can get this on a lot of people, which will just help against those comets. But this is the bread and butter of Witch Hunters. This spell is probably the most overpowered in the entire game. Like 100% serious. Like, it's crazy. It gives you armor absorption of 20%, which is just insane. Plus, you become like a thrall, a vampire thrall, or possessed, and you provoke fear on enemies, which, if they are feared, it's 30% less chance to hit, which is pretty strong considering the Templar's passive and ability to be made into defensive kind of builds, melee resist builds, 10% melee resistance. They can get shields. You know, it can be just really ridiculous. First of all, you can't hit the target, and when you do, they have a lot of armor. So it's a pretty neat spell. I would have liked Deny the Heretic, but I don't know. It's kind of loud and annoying when you cast it. It makes these big red circles. I mean, it's nice, but it takes away a red pill, but I don't know. I find it kind of annoying all over the battlefield. Honestly, that's kind of why I didn't take it. It just makes this screechy sound the whole time. It's really annoying. Fluffykins, my zealot, lad's got talent archer. So this guy was always meant to be a henchman, but the league ended a little early, and this was supposed to be a wolf priest, but I never really got him to the levels where he would have been useful in the elimination tournament. Much better off taking a level 10 henchman with 9 red pills and just upgrading him, as opposed to some wolf priest with like 6 or 7 red pills, a lot less hit points. So this is kind of a neat way for me to become more powerful without being too punished. I had to replace him with a level 7 unit, but you know, it's just a henchman. So he has very similar skills to the captain. Nerve shot, this time just basic. Trial by pain. Instead, he now has knee shot, which can help with the initiative ladder. He's sisters and witch hunters were both kind of slow, so 15 can make a big difference. I would shoot a target to make them drop below some of my units, then to get a next free attacks in the next round, especially combined with nerve shot. If that unit's not even in a stance, it's really going to punish that unit. Quick reload, again movement. I was unable to get mastery exhaustion on this guy. I really would have loved it, but what can you do? Ran out of money and time for training. And here's the flagellants. They're pretty bare bones. Again, money has been a problem. They all got hardy. They all got sidestep. And then this one got Burn the Witch. They're dual wield, so they kind of pack a punch even with just 3 strength. About 50 a hit. But their job is to just survive and lock down units with this toughness and agility. Really good dodge chances. I would have loved to have gotten a void, but you can see it's a mastery 270 gold skill, so just didn't have the money. Yeah, so these two just don't have Burn the Witch, and that one does. Here's my poor melee zealot. Just is not as done so well. This is the second one. The first one was fired. This guy's clawed his way up, but he has basically no skills. I just have not invested in him, especially with this eye. His job is to just lock down, hopefully, Ainir's Maiden. He'll get these 2 Mandrake roots, which stack for 20% more armor. He found a Shield of Iron. He has a helmet on for armor. So what's that? 50% armor, armor of righteousness. He'll be 70% armor. Pretty good for a zealot. And just stand there and take a beating from the maiden. That's his only job. A purple armor would have helped make that even higher, 75%, but I just don't have one. That's about his only job. Just stand there and take a beating. And then we have a normal melee or ranged zealot archer. And for those of you that say, oh my gosh, they're meant to be melee, look at their passive. Well, they get great ballistic skill. And they can use bows, long bows, and short bows. So that's what he does. Yeah, he did not get Trial by Pain. You can also stack a basic and a mastery Trial by Pain. So that's 15 to 45 damage per hit, which would have been nice to do. But I just ran out of time. I would have done that if we had gone all the way through to the second league. Yeah, so that's the army of Kittens as currently constructed. The idea is, again, get these guys in the back lines using exhaustion onto targets of my choosing, locking them in place. These guys are going to lead the charge. This is the last battle of the entire league, so I don't care if they die anymore, so I can be a bit more aggressive with them than I have been. The archers, they do damage and they apply status effects like Nerve Shot, Trial by Pain. Often overlooked, thanks to Rioran. He gave me 2 purple Sigmarite Hammers of Devotion, which I was lucky to get this rune, along with the Piety rune. Thanks to, before we finish that thought, the perks I took. Librarian was giving me some nice blue runes to put on the weapons. Scholar for training the very expensive skills, and Explorer to find deadlies and brutals with the best quality wordstone and loot. So yeah, he did really well with the Librarian. The Librarian was very kind to this unit. And there's my purple leather. I knew it was somewhere. But anyway, look at this damage. People just kind of think about the Warrior Priest as this softy backline unit. Oh, look at this little guy. I'm going to lock him down and kill him. And then he suddenly is hitting you with 2 purple purple hammers for 60 damage. So this guy is what I call like a flex unit. He's like a second line. You kind of keep him in the back to flex for finishing blows to kill enemy targets or to protect, say, your leader or your archer. If he gets engaged, he can then move in and create all alones and support the units to try to get whatever's attacking them off their back. So he's a very good flex unit. So you got a good ratio of melee, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 technically, to 1, 2, 3 range, which is a good ratio to have. If you have too much ranged, you can get locked down pretty easy. You want to have about 2 to 1 to protect each other, which is what we have here. So yeah, so these guys engage, they hammer away. I don't have a true, like, really strong damage dealer. A lot of people had impressives that just kind of hammer away, but if you look at, everyone does about 45 to 50 damage if you see their damage here. And we just kind of chip away at our enemy. You know, this is the weakest, and his job is to just engage the toughest opponent, which is why he's missing eyes and died, and still he's just, poor guy. I gotta pay him better. But yeah, so everyone just kind of is consistent damage. My overall team morale is extremely high. I don't think you can see it. There's my overall rating right now, 3,000. But you basically have to kill everybody. This is another thing I did. I didn't really talk about stats, but most beginners don't do this. This guy is, let's see, immune to all alone, fear, and terror tests. So nobody ever touches leadership on these guys. They just pump alertness just because, I guess. I maxed leadership because this gives him 30 morale to add to the pool of the team. Your morale is everything, all these added up across your entire team. And since he's level 10, if he goes out of action, you lose 19 morale. So that's plus 11 morale. So just 2 of these guys, that's plus 22 morale, plus 33 morale, which means, you know, more units can go out of action before you attempt a route test. So Ainier's probably going to have to kill my entire team before I route. See, even these guys, the same thing. I guess this one's under perks. They're immune to all alone, fear, and terror tests, but I still pump leadership after I get knowledge of Mordheim, just to make this like it's equal. So if they go out of action, it's like it's an equal loss. So pretty important to do, pump up that leadership so you have a good pool. It can mean you lose more units if you're losing a battle, because it'll take a lot more to die before you can voluntarily route. But here at the end, it's going to be a really crucial part of my warband. Ainier's going to have to kill a lot of these guys, and they all do about 45 to 50 damage. So we'll see how it goes. But that is the Army of Kittens. They'll be playing here in the final shortly, and hopefully we can you guys can watch that video as well through Game Night or Karond, K-A-R-O-N-D, Karond's Mordheim YouTube channel, or through Game Night Plays. You'll be able to see some of the content there. And so yeah, that's my Army of Kittens, and I will see you guys later. Thanks for watching.